Hi everybody, welcome back to Kanuka Home Practice. Thank you for joining me today. This is the second video in a two-part series talking about twists, and today we'll be covering a little bit about binds as well. So this is tying in with our theme this week of working on binds. So if you haven't already, watch the first video. If you already watched it, we're going to be continuing on from where we left off. So you're going to need, again, like last time, 2 blocks and a blanket. And the blanket is mostly for under the knee this time. If you have a carpet, you may not need it, but blocks are always useful. All right, so grab your things and I'll see you on the mat. So if you come into a 90-90, so that's or low lunge, which when we say 90-90, it means that if I'm doing, let's do left foot forward, right foot back, right knee back, my hip is over top of my knee. It's not forward of my knee. So come to this position, hip over top of the knee. All right, and then we're going to bring that right hand back in again. Or you can do both hands back in again behind the skull or behind the ear. Check that this is not happening. This rib pop, keep the ribs in, keep the breath into the back ribs. Right, and all we're going to do here is inhale upright, exhale, tap the arm toward the knee. And you don't actually have to go all the way, but it doesn't matter how far you go. Your focus is on keeping that back hip over top of the knee and without letting that hip swing forward. So we're just tapping. Good. Another way that you can approach this is bringing that right hand down onto the floor or onto a block. And then you can press down into that hand, stabilize through the shoulder, lean back, and then just leave your left hand behind your head and do it the other way. That might feel a little more easy, a little more movement there. So this is something that you can play around with. Having variety makes it more enjoyable to work and exercise into our everyday life. So I'm encouraging you to take these different variations of this open book or crocodile arms movement, take these different variations and do a different one every day. So you could do it in the kneeling position, you could do it on your hands and knees, you could do it like we did here, or you could do it with the arm down. This is my personal favorite, because then from this position, we have more options of where we might want to move to next if we're coming up with our own flow. But obviously, that's not everybody's love. So otherwise, just keep it simple. Choose one thing and just do it. Okay, let's do it on the other side. Left knee down, right knee forward. I'm going to bring in a blanket under my knee to help it out a little bit. All right, so get that left glute turned on. Make sure that your hip's over top of your knee. Let's try that first option out first. So both hands in behind the back of the head, and we're going to bring left elbow toward the right knee. And it doesn't have to go far because I'm not looking to go like that and to crank down. I'm looking for that movement to just come from this T-spine, thoracic spine. And that might mean just a little like that, like that. And then you might do a little bit of a dip down as well. So that's bringing in 2 different movements to the spine, but it's all good. All right. And then if we try the other option, left hand down onto the floor or onto the block, under the shoulder. Right hand in behind the ear or the back of the head. Lean back first. Find that length through the spine, reaching out through the crown of the head. Good. Keep that left hip anchored back. Even, I don't know if you noticed with me, you're probably at the wrong angle, but my left hip tried to join the party and tried to shift forward. Try to keep that left hip back. Open up with your open book and close in that elbow toward the right knee. And I like to inhale and open here and exhale to close. We'll do it 2 more times. Inhale to open and exhale to close. All right. Stay in this 90-90 position. We're going to do something else that brings in some really nice thoracic movement here. I'm going to change my which way I'm facing so you can see better. All right. We're going to do both sides, so don't worry too much about which side is, which foot is forward first. But this time we're going to bring our arms into this goalpost position. So elbows are up a little bit higher than probably you think, and the fists are right above the elbows. And then we're going to think about kind of gripping our scapula or our shoulder blades onto our rib cage. And that comes from this feeling of from your elbows, trying to push the elbows forward, but letting that movement travel all the way up into the shoulder blades, and the hands try to push back, or the fists try to push back a little bit. And then take all of that and kind of click it down a wee bit. It's kind of tough to get the hang of sometimes. If that was like, what is she talking about? Don't worry, it's fine. Let's just bring our hands here. And then we're going to take that breath into the back ribs, and just from the navel, take a turn toward your front leg. And then come back to center. So if you exhale and turn, I find that easier. Exhale to turn, inhale to come back to center. Try that a few times. Once you get used to it, notice whether your front hip, the hip that you're turning away from, whether that is trying to do the turning as well. Is it moving? Is it trying to shift forward? And can you squeeze that buttock that belongs to that hip behind it? Can you squeeze it to keep it completely still? Good. And you can speed up this motion as well. You can go a little bit faster. You can do this position in this low lunge. You could do it sitting with your legs crossed. You could do it up in a higher lunge here in your crescent lunge as well. It really doesn't matter. It's a really great movement to try and do every day and to find some freedom with it. Let your belly start your turn first. Let's do the other side. So let your belly start the turn first, and your arms and neck and head follow. That's the hard part, I think. Sometimes we lead with the arm, or we lead with the head. And training the body to lead with the obliques here, which is why I say from the belly button, that's a lot harder. All right, we'll do another 2 or 3 breaths here. Squeeze that butt that belongs to the leg that's behind you. Squeeze that butt to keep that pelvis stable and immobile. All right. Whew, my arms are tired. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. So if we're going to be in a yoga class and you're offered to, if you're in your low lunge here where we just were, or in your high lunge, and you're offered to come into a prayer twist, and that often means elbow coming over the thigh here. This is a type of bind. So we're in our binds week this week, and binds are often used in twisting positions. So this bind with the elbow coming over the outside of the knee can often be quite a thing that we try and do because the teacher has said to do it, and we think it looks really cool. So we try our best to do it. And along the way, we don't notice how our body is compensating to get that elbow over the knee. So ways in which it can compensate are, first of all, this kind of elbow, the shoulder coming way out and rounding forward here, and then hooking the elbow over and pushing can often just pull a lot around the shoulder joint in a way that's not really that functional. We don't really need to use that in our everyday lives. So there's not a lot of skill in that. Another thing that can happen is more like with this rounding of the shoulders, also, of course, rounding of the spine to get into this position. I don't know if you can see me from that angle, but rounding the spine so we lose that lovely length through the spine that we're trying to maintain so that we can stay with an integrated core. Personally, I don't ever try and hook my elbow over the knee in binds or in twists. There is an alternative which is very similar and a lot more helpful for the body. So instead of over the knee, try on top of the knee. Bring the elbow on top of the thigh or the knee. Then you're able to lean back so that that length comes back into the spine. This shoulder is a lot happier. It's not locked into a position. It's not being used as a lever. That shoulder is a lot happier. We can keep the length in the spine, and we have more turning power through the thoracic spine then. If I'm here, my shoulder locking out is actually stopping my thoracic moving beyond a point. So elbow on top of the knee, lean away from that knee, turning from the belly button or from the ribs up to the right, and let the head follow. And then you can take this easily into your crescent lunge twist. So I'll just turn back around so you can see. And then that can take us, the back knee lifted up off the floor. And here we are in our crescent lunge prayer twist. All right, So let's do that on the other side since we did it. So whichever side you're on, swap your legs over, come into your low lunge first. Good. Do a couple of your washing machine turns. And that way you can gauge where your thoracic turning ability takes you to. So once you're at that turn, the apex of your turn toward your front leg, pause there. Don't let your pelvis change. Don't let anything change as you lean your body forward. Bring your opposite elbow on top of that knee. And notice if in order to do that, you had to round more or change the shape of your spine, in which case, no need to actually try and do that. We don't need to compensate our body to get something done. Just be happy with where your body is at and trust that the more that you will practice something, the more your body will accommodate that and learn how to do it. So instead of elbow to knee, you might even just go hand pressing into the knee so that you're getting that point of contact, and then you can work more on getting that thoracic rotation, maybe more of a forward lean. And as you slowly practice that, just quite naturally, your elbow might become, over time, more within reach of the knee. And then if you're doing elbow on knee, press it down, lean back away from that knee, turning up through the spine, from the belly button up to the left. And you can stay with your knee down, or you can come up with that back leg. I'm a little bit wobbly today. All right, so we're gonna do one last thing that I love doing, and it takes us up standing on our feet. Come up into a standing position here, and feet start parallel, but then they turn out to whatever degree is going to make this position comfortable in your hips and knees. It doesn't matter how far out your feet are turned. They might even be more parallel. And then you're going to slide the hips back a little bit as you bend, and we're coming into this horse stance or goddess pose. And then you want to make sure that your knees are kind of facing the same way as your toes. So if your toes are trying to go way out, but your knees aren't letting that happen, just turn your toes in a little bit. Or vice versa, if your toes are way in, but your knees are pointing that way, turn your feet. All right, and then you really think about creating stability in this pelvic area. So grab your butt cheeks and squeeze them with your hands and get those, and then jam your fingers in and get those butt cheeks working. Squeeze the sit bones together, press your feet into the floor until you feel that those muscles turn on there. All right, so from our goddess here, we're gonna do similar to our washing machine, which you can do here, of course, as well, but I'm trying to show you variety so that you have options for when you want to try this at home. Same idea. As we're turning, we're going to let our arm punch. So let's start by turning to the right, and then the left arm is going to punch that way and come back to center. Now turning to the left, and the right arm is going to punch. So you can start slowly because you really want to focus on the turn starting from your belly. Turn and punch. Center, turn and punch. So this can eventually speed up when you get used to it, and it can feel really nice and freeing if you get into a bit of a swing, and you can also bop up and down a little bit, getting some pulses to get those glutes a little more active. All right, now what I love to do from here as well is to take this sort of idea into a different position of the pelvis. So we're gonna slide the hips back. I'll turn side on so you can see me. We're gonna slide the hips back, knees stay bent, and the feet stay exactly at the angle they were at. Slide the hips way back, and doing that will parallel your torso to the floor. Let that happen. Bring blocks in if the floor is kind of far away. It's not really important how far down we can reach, but what's important is maintaining this straight spine so that we can stay integrated with the core, which happens through breath, and that's another class. That's something for another day. But today, just get that butt way back behind the knees, grip your butt together so that you're using those glutes. And we're going to try doing those punches from here. So have one block under each shoulder, and you're going to aim for your opposite block to punch. And that's going to help your ribs turn from side to side. And you don't have to punch hard, obviously, just land a bit of contact down. And we're doing the same thing that we're doing standing up, but now we're in this hip hinge position, which is a little more challenging on our hips, on our glutes, and on our hip flexors. All right, and we can turn this position into something another one that I love. So from here, let's pause and center. Bring both your hands to the blocks. Now parallel your feet more and maybe take them a little bit wider. And then you're going to straighten into your left leg and keep your right knee bent. Bring your fingers into your right hip crease and just slide that hip crease deeper backwards. So this is a side lunge. You can do this from side to side, alternating which knee is bent. And every time that you bend the knee, you're thinking about your hip sliding back so that the knee stays over top of the ankle. I do believe that knees coming forward of ankles is a-okay, but my purpose in this particular posture is to train the hips to learn that hinging position and to get the glutes working. So that's why we want the hip hinging more than which makes it more glute dominant rather than knees coming forward, which makes it more quad dominant. So we're going for the glute dominant right now. And the reason why is so that then the glutes help stabilize the lumbar spine so that we can turn from the thoracic. Okay, so pause with your right knee bent, left leg straight. Grab your block, bring it under your chest, and put your left hand on it. Then we're going to turn from the navel again, turning to the right so that we are doing that. We're just doing what we've done this whole time, movement only coming through the thoracic spine. And there might not be a lot of movement there, and that's fine. And then you can do that to the other side. Straighten up toward the floor, bend into your left knee, and the right hand comes on the block, and you turn from the ribs, and the hand is like right under the chest. Turn from the ribs up to the left. You can take this at this speed, nice and slow, alternating each side. Or you can take it a little bit faster as you get used to it, and as your body gets used to the way that you're asking it to keep the turning isolated to the thoracic spine. Oh. All right, everybody. So we've covered a few things today. We've covered a progression that you can make from being on the floor in that passive twisting, which is a beautiful way to just start and getting your body used to the idea of turning through the thoracic spine. And then taking that up onto hands and knees, which is a really important step of getting your body used to it with not a lot of demand in how to coordinate different limbs. So staying on your hands and knees in that kind of child's pose, or in your hands and knees here in tabletop, and then doing those open books with the ribs moving is just something that I would recommend doing every day. And then you can get more fun with it with those washing machine movements, and that can be as you are now on your knees or sitting, or it can be in your low lunge or in your goddess, or you could try the punches. You could go into those low lunge twists and hold it static, or do your open close books, or you might do it with your back knee off the floor, and you might practice that different way to bind if you're doing it. Instead of elbow over knee, you're thinking of elbow on knee, and that can be done in your crescent lunge twists, in your low lunge twists, in your utkatasana twists, your chair pose twists, same thing there. And finally, those side lunge twists is one of my favorites. All right, everybody, I hope that you enjoyed this class today, and I hope that you are going to take one of these things away with you into your daily life and start doing it every day. Thank you, everybody. Namaste.